1190 KEX, good morning. This is Bob Miller on the radio today. Welcome to the show. It's 10 after 9. This is the day I've looked forward to for a long, long time. This and Christmas. This is exceptional because Mark Lindsay and the original Raiders are right here in the studio with me today. Please say here when your name is called.
Oh, baby, come on.
I'm here.
Phil Volk is here. Okay, Fang, a.k.a. Fang. Smitty is here. Mike Smith.
Yeah, I'm here.
Here.
Drake Levin.
Here.
And Mark Lindsay.
Mark Lindsay's
They're all
here.
here.
You might want to pull that mic a little closer to your mouth there, Phil.
You've worked mics before, haven't you, Phil?
Not this time.
Occasionally.
Well, welcome aboard.
We're glad to be here.
I'm glad you're here. You're here for, let's talk first of all about what you're going to do this weekend. You got a concert
I
coming up.
have no clue. No.
You don't know.
We're getting on stage together for the first time in 30 years and recreate the songs we all played on that the people that grew up in Portland will remember, Just Like Me and Stepping Out and KEX and Hungry and Good Thing, and we're going to rock and roll till the cows come home, and you take it.
Point it. This is radio. They can't see you point.
Well, I know, but see, that was a cue. I'm just giving you a cue.
That's
Oh, I
okay.
can see it. Okay.
So which one of you is the local one? I mean, the one from Eugene?
I was born in Eugene.
Okay, Mark, you were born in Eugene.
Actually,
Smitty
lives in Lincoln
I was
City.
actually born in Portland at Emmanuel Hospital.
This is Smitty,
And,
right?
yeah, I'm Smitty, and then grew up at or around Beaverton, between there and Lincoln City, which is down at the coast.
Right.
And so I'm pretty much a Oregon boy, and I moved out of Oregon when I got in the band. Well, actually before, and I've lived in several different places, from Hawaii to Colorado to California, and even spent some time in where I thought Mark was from. That's right, I forgot that he was born in Eugene, but Idaho. I thought you were from Idaho.
Well, I was just popped out of a potato now. No, we're more or less
We're
northwest
guys.
Northwest guys, right?
Except Drake.
Well, I was born in Chicago, moved to Boise when I was 12, and
Yes.
met Phil the first day in journalism class in Nampa, Idaho, and then going to junior high and high school in Boise. I joined the Raiders when Paul saw my band on a local TV show, and then
So you
called
guys
us
work
up
for
to play,
nothing?
on the off nights for nothing. Loaned us Smitty on drums for a couple times till we got a drummer, and then at the end of the summer he asked me to join the Raiders, and I was 16 at the time.
So this whole thing didn't really actually get started as a garage band, per se.
Well,
Well, it was a garage sound.
motel
and,
band.
And we rehearsed basements and garages, all of us growing up.
Right.
And I joined the band, and the next gig we did that night, we played in Newport, Oregon, and then Seaside and Portland, and had the Seaside Riots. So it was a great introduction to rock and roll in Oregon.
Were the costumes always there? Was that always part of it?
no,
That was an accident.
And Marcus was responsible, I think. You know, when he took those La Jolla jackets that we had, we thought they were the hippest thing and ever invented.
What's a
This is
La
the
Jolla
collarless jacket.
Collarless blazers.
Right.
But he took them to the laundromat and didn't do dry clean thing. I think he's trying to save $1 or $2. And when they came back, the sleeves had shrunk about 4 inches. We thought we could start a new style, but it just didn't go.
No, that wasn't the accident I was talking about. We had,
that wasn't.
There were more accidents then.
Actually,
we had rented them for Halloween one time.
Well, no.
And did a gig with them, went off to Hawaii, and when we came back and we played in Portland on New Year's, everybody said, "Where's the costumes?" Because they thought it was like a new thing we were going to be doing. And there was such a reaction for it that the next time we played, we rented them again and got a great reaction. So Revere, being the entrepreneur and not wanting to pay all those rental charges, had some made, and we started making
In
it
Hong
part of the
Kong.
show.
Didn't
No, but it's.
What's Mark's version of this story?
Well-
I'm curious now. Now I'm really curious.
Well, the way I remember it, actually, Paul and I were walking down the street, and we passed a costume shop.
Wrong,
And the gig was in Lake Oswego that weekend.
I was there too.
Well, then maybe everyone was there.
No, I was there because I remember the guy didn't want to rent them to us.
That's true.
And Revere had to go out on this sidewalk. He grabbed the first kid walking by, hauled him in the shop, and said, "Do you know who I am?" The guy and the kid said, "You're Paul
Captain
Revere."
Crunch.
And
Captain
the guy
Crunch.
was so impressed, he let us rent them. He figured if
But it happened.
just any anonymous kid off the street knew who we were.
But they
that
were
it must
rented
be
just
cool.
just for a gag, and for the first half of the show at Lake Oswego, we wore our collarless blazers. Then we changed into the Raider outfits, you know, And I tell you, it's hard to have a bad time when you look over and everybody's wearing lace dickies. You know?
Yeah, I mean,
It's hard to be cool in a revolutionary outfit.
But didn't the press get hold of that and kind of say that you guys were staving off the British invasion and that
it
kind of
was
thing?
good timing.
Yeah.
It was perfect timing.
A press agent's dream. I mean, here they are. Paul Revere and the Raiders stem the tide and, ward off the British invasion one more time.
Which you did for quite some time.
That's right, and of course we won't talk about all the people we actually killed.
Mark Lindsay, the original Raiders, here with me on 1190 KEX. It's 9:16. We'll check traffic and weather coming up on 1190 KEX. The KEX. Time for traffic and weather together, and with it here is Bill Diaz. Bill?
Pardon me.
Was that Grey Poupon?
Maybe I didn't hit my cough button.
Thanks, Bill. And now with the weather forecast, Mark Lindsay.
Hey, let me see what the weather is going to be. I think it's going to be raining a little bit, but it's clearing up toward tomorrow, because tomorrow at Oaks Park, the weather's going to be absolutely fantastic. Blue skies, a couple of maybe white clouds sailing by. Right now, it's cleared up outside, and the street's a little bit wet, so drive safely out there, okay?
And I have the 5-day forecast.
Doesn't even use the script. This is beautiful.
Here.
The man's a professional.
That's
Wait a
an
second.
actual
Okay,
script.
this afternoon, partly sunny with a few scattered showers. Highs about 80, 67 tonight. Partly cloudy and cool with patchy late night fog. Low 48 in Portland, 41 in Salem. Friday, patchy morning fog, then partly to mostly sunny and warmer for the big concert. High 73 Saturday, mostly sunny and warmer. Looking ahead to Sunday, mostly sunny, and Monday, mostly sunny, high 78.
All right.
Okay.
Yay.
nicely done. 54 now at 1190 KEX.
That's currently.
Yeah.
921, 1190 KEX. This is Bob Miller, along with Mark Lindsay,
Fang, Drake, and Smitty.
Fang, Drake, and Smitty. I'll just do it that way. Fang, Drake, and Smitty.
There you go.
That makes
You
it
hear,
easy.
you hear that song and everything there?
I like this
You
song.
remember that, do you? All right.
Boom, 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 boom.
I'm going to move over here to the right side of the room and ask Fang and Smitty to explain to me this story that I've heard 4 million times, and I've never heard it the same way twice, the Louie Louie deal. Okay? The Kingsmen and you guys, what's the story on that?
Go ahead, Smitty. Jump in there.
All right. Actually, the very first time I heard Louie Lou was by Northwest Group, the Whalers.
Really?
Yeah.
Rockin' Robin Roberts
I'll
and
make a note of that. That's another one.
I like that song. It just had something. I don't care who would have done it.
Yeah.
It was going to be a hit, no matter who did it. It just had that flavor to it.
Beauregard and
as
the
I
Invaders
recall,
could have done it.
Yeah, that's true.
And then I was involved in a nightclub, or a teenage nightclub, which is called the Headless Horseman, which is right on Park Avenue in downtown Portland. And we started that up. And overnight, when we finally opened up, it became the largest membership club in Oregon. And we were just teenagers at the time. We didn't know really what we were doing business-wise.
Mm-hmm.
But we played there. And as I recall, now everybody's going to have a different version, but I got a copy of the Whalers version, and we listened to that. And says, this is the most popular dance song that's going to ever happen. So then we started doing it. And then we ended up recording it. Well, at the same time, we had the Kingsmen working for myself and Ross Alamang and Al Dardis at the Headless Horseman, and they started doing it too because it's just such a popular dance song.
Mm-hmm.
And then now there's a little bit of confusion. We both went to the same studio within a week of each other and recorded. Since the studio is no longer in existence and there's no records of it, I thought we recorded it first, and they thought they recorded it first. I don't know.
The Mark speaks now, and this is could be faulty memory, but the way I remember it is we've just recorded the session. I'm packing up my sax in the control room. It was very small. Bob Lindahl was the engineer. He's running copies, and he's saying, if I were you guys, I'd get the song out right away. And I said, well, why? He says, well, the Kingsmen were in here 2 days ago and cut a demo of this same song. Well, what he thought was the demo was probably the master, because I don't think they ever cut it twice.
Right.
But that's how I remember it. Now, I may be wrong, but it was recorded in the same studio, Northwest Recorders, within the same week. So it really doesn't matter whether they cut it first or we cut it first. the song went on to become recorded by over 2,000 groups.
Well, in the book, the real story
In the
of Louie
book.
Louie, which Roger gave me, this is great. I mean, it's pretty obvious to me listening to it. I joined the band a few months later.
Right.
Steve West had played guitar on that record, and then I joined the band, like I said, a couple months later, and played on the live version and was involved in promoting it for that time. It's obvious to me that the Kingsmen had heard the Raiders version, whether they heard the recorded version or just heard them playing it live. Most of their repertoire was based on songs that Mark and Paul were already doing, like Money and Big Boy Pete became their Jolly Green Giant song and stuff like that.
Right.
All kind of Raider songs that were happening then. That a lot of bands picked up on the repertoire of the Raiders because it was a more rhythm and blues kind of a funky driving band.
Was there a dog-eat-dog competition around here among bands?
Not as much as you think. I mean, the Kingsmen and the Raiders were a lot friendlier.
They were on the same circuit, but there wasn't like a hatred or anything.
No, and we hung out some with the guys, and there was competition when the records came out. Our version sold 6,000 in Portland, theirs sold 600. However, when CBS, Mitch Miller was head of CBS, he hated rock and roll, he told his boys not to promote it. So after it was played everywhere the Raiders had performed, it died. And a friend of the Kingsmen's manager at the WMEX in Boston, about 6 months later, picked it up, started playing it, and it was a song that literally any group could have recorded. It was waiting to happen.
Right.
But their version got promoted. And
When
it took
Bert
off.
Burns was I think had a lot to do with the promotion that he did Van Morrison and Brown Eyed Girl, but that was his first really huge thing, I think. Was Louie
Yeah,
Louie
and
with the
didn't
Kingsmen.
hurt that the lyrics. People thought that the lyrics
obscure.
were obscene, and if you played it backwards, it said, "Baby, come on, baby, let's ooh." You know. So you know, anything that teenagers think is controversial and that they shouldn't listen to or shouldn't be played, of course, it's going to become number one.
It was actually kind of a calypso song.
Well, yeah, it's
know,
about a ship and a
yeah,
guy going to sea.
Going to Jamaica.
Right.
Jamaica, but you know, if you work that word too
You
hard,
see
that,
Jamaica moon of
You
You know,
know,
it's a
it's
real sad thing, or a different kind of a thing. We started our own label, and we pressed out 500 copies. Roger, was that right? 500 copies to begin with. I took some to radio stations. We, out of just knocking on the back door, and at that time you could get something local played and whatnot. Every place we took our record went to number one. It was number one in Portland, number one in Seattle, number one in Hawaii, and somehow one of our copies got back to Louisiana. And that song was such a strong song. Everybody wanted to buy it, but when they went to the record store, there was no record there. Ours was out for quite a
It
while.
was number one in San Francisco 2 years ago.
Number one in San Francisco.
can I just put a tag on this story?
Sure.
Okay.
We need
I
a break. but go
yeah,
ahead.
because we're going to lead you to break with this.
Okay.
Smitty, you did the best thing that ever happened to that song, Louie Louie. Can you give us that famous opening line?
Well,
Hit it.
grab your woman. It's a Louie Louie time.
All right, yeah. Da da da.
I didn't blow the.
Picked up a saxophone like Mark and became the front man singer of the band. He was like
He figures-
totally
Figures
worshiping the Raiders so much that
You know, I never thought about that. That's true.
he died.
Please don't make me ever work in the studio again, God. Thank you.
There you go.
Ah.
That's for the anthology.
1190 KEX. Bob Miller here with Mark Lindsay, the original Raiders, all in the studio with me here this morning. We've had more fun off the air than, well, almost as much as we're having on the air. This is great stuff, and it's great reminiscing. You know, we've talked about the beginning for you guys. Let's talk a little bit about when it really happened, where the action is, and all that kind of stuff. How did that come about with Dick Clark and all of that?
Well, what was funny is that we were signed to Columbia Records, and we had the TV show on for a couple of months, and Columbia decided to send us on a promotional tour. But they really didn't realize the influence we had already received from the TV show, where the action is. And every town we went to, 10,000, 20,000 kids showed up. They'd put us on a bed of a truck on a stage behind a supermarket, thinking it was just going to be a little promo thing. And all of a sudden, there's 10,000 screaming fans out there. And every city we went to, there was either a riot or some kind of a crowd control problem. And finally, Columbia figured, well, it's time to promote this group.
And so they did.
And so they did. We were in the right place at the right time for the Dick Clark signing. We happened to be Roger was sitting in the audience with one of Dick Clark's secretaries, Roger Hart, that is.
Well, Roger had been camped out in Dick Clark's office for 6 months, traveling back and forth from Portland to LA all the time.
Right.
Finally
And
got a date with one of the secretaries.
Dick had one of his touring caravan shows come through Oregon and play against us in some places like Portland or Eugene, and where we were outdrawing Frankie Avalon and Teddy Randazzo, and they would send like 5 or 6 major Philadelphia stars through on a caravan thing with Connie Francis and all that, and they were bombing out, and
When they played
our
next to
armory
us.
Was this that thing they used to call the Dick Clark Caravan of Stars or something like
Yeah,
that?
he had a few of those things he promoted. And in fact, our first tour we ever did was a Dick Clark tour with Bo Diddley, who's going to be here this week also, and the We Five and the Birds, and ourselves, which Columbia helped to promote also.
Speaking of the Birds, we did this Columbia Records music convention in Miami, Florida, which I think is another benchmark in our career, because they wanted to see what kind of reaction these groups would have. So they brought some kids in, about 500 kids, to this convention and had each group perform a few songs. And the Birds came on and they got fairly good reaction. But then when we came on with our Raider outfits and the whole thing, the crowd went crazy. And Columbia...
Well, even the record guys enjoyed it, and that really did make them notice us after the Louie debacle.
And it was very much like you said earlier, Bob, that a lot of groups today, and even back then, they play music, but there's really not much going on stage except music coming off.
If you look at the Beatles, basically what they did, the most they did was shake their hair.
Right.
But they had those unique haircuts.
Yes, they did.
And that's why the Birds were kind of at a disadvantage at this convention, because they just stood there and played their folk rock music.
Right.
And we set our hair on fire.
And then we set our hair on fire.
Well,
and
what
tore
made
off
you
the
decide
stuff.
to do all that? All
Because
those antics on stage. And
It's
everything?
fun. We had a good time doing
Our
it.
goal was to be the band that everybody talked about when they left. If you saw 4 or 5 bands that night, wherever we were the ones that you left talking about, like, weren't they this, weren't they that? You might hate us or you might love us, but there was no in between.
All right.
We would try to top ourselves at every show. One night, we were playing D Street Corral, and I had to relieve myself, and it wasn't the kind of place you could relieve yourself against the back wall. So in the middle of Fever, I walked off stage playing sax and went into the men's room and singing. So I thought, well, this is great, but they can't hear anything. So I had a 100-foot cord made. The next time that happened, I just drug it in there and probably treated people to the first close-up sound of a urinal flushing. But no,
Boy, that's showmanship. That's real talent, I tell you.
I saw Lenny Bruce do the same thing at the Off-Broadway at North Beach.
Smitty picked up on that, and the next night he brought his cymbal into the men's room and kept playing during Fever. Drake and I decided just to lay on the floor on stage until the guys got back. But of course the song continued.
Right.
Yeah.
But now just to kind of like jump
I thought you
forward.
say lay on the floor in the men's room.
No, that's too
I
bad.
wouldn't
That's
do that.
But just to jump out of this thing real quickly, in 1990, Paul Schaefer on the David Letterman show did a tribute to Paul Revere and the Raiders. They wore the outfits and everything. Drake and I saw this. And Dave Letterman said, well, what are you doing, Paul? And Paul Schaefer said, well, we're doing a tribute to America's #1 show band. And I thought that was really nice of him to say that. We were a show band, and we can't get away from that image. But that's why people loved us. We were true musicians that worked from the garage up. We started in a garage somewhere in Idaho, and here we are today. But there's a discography, a legend, but we can't forget that we were also a show band that made people laugh and feel good when they saw us.
Yes, and the 100-foot cord and going into the urinal, that really wasn't the high point of our
I understand.
career.
The point was we were willing to do anything.
It was actually one of our lowest points.
But the spirit of the band was, as far as I was concerned, hey, I'll do anything
For a laugh.
to give the crowd a show. And
Right.
if it involved, we made this up as we went along, and everybody was the same way. Who knew what would happen?
I mean, we were playing so many shows every night, every week, even before we were famous. And after we started getting recognition, it was like 285 one-nighters, 300 one-nighters a year, plus TV shows, plus recording albums, all at the same time. Just
But the word is
never
spontaneity.
stopping.
Spontaneity.
But however,
And if something was good, we'd leave it in, and if it didn't quite work, we'd leave it out. And so our show developed pretty fast into a pretty tight, spontaneous show.
But the Northwest audience saw the Raiders like no one else in the country did, because when we got on television, we had to clean up our act a lot.
Yeah.
So
We had to give up the Crisco party thing.
Yeah. truly.
Which wasn't that bad. I mean, your guitar strings would get so sticky and messy.
No,
But you know, they actually put that out on one of our latest albums, The Essential Ride, and the producer, Bruce Johnson, tried to explain the Crisco Party, and he couldn't get to it, so Mark said, would you like a little more detail? And they actually put that on the album, which I guess you can get away with that in the 90s.
Is that this one
now.
here?
No, that's the anthology.
Not
but
the one I own.
The
okay.
latest CD is The Essential Ride, which is a better mix, actually.
Yeah.
We've censored all this out for your show. We don't want the FCC
I
to
understand. Hey, I've always wanted to ask a group, because I used to watch, when I was growing up, Dick Clark, and I watched Shindig and Upbeat and all of those shows on TV.
Hullabaloo.
What was it like to play on those shows and
Okay, I'll help you on that one.
lip sync your stuff?
Bob, let me
Embarrassing,
comment.
embarrassing.
Let me comment, because there's one videotape we'd love, if anybody out there in Radioland knows how to get a clip of the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson.
I've already got that.
We did Big Boy Pete. We played everything live. We stood on top of our amps and played behind our net. You have a copy of that?
I just found one 2 days ago.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm serious.
Whoa! Now all the other stuff was lip sync, except the Ed Sullivan you sang live, right?
Yeah. See, sometimes we would be able to talk them into, having a
Opening
live
mic,
mic, so I could sing live with track.
Right.
But for the most part, to do lip sync, it ain't near as much fun as it is to play live. But because of
They didn't know how to mix in those days. There was no such thing as a good rock and roll mixer in those early days. So actually,
that's
lip
right.
syncing was it was a safety net.
But Smitty, were you allowed to hit the drums or anything when you lip sync?
Well,
these things?
I was always so embarrassed about the lip sync thing, because there wasn't a real thing going
Right.
on. If you looked at us, and we were out standing in the ocean with waves, and you still heard the flawless.
And the guitars
band
aren't
track.
plugged in.
Yeah, but I mean,
These people are going to
No, but-
really
but-
think we're a phony thing.
We were totally impervious to electrocution. I mean, it was wonderful.
And also part of it was a union, basically a fee thing. If you played live, they had to pay you a higher fee than if you lip synced, and a lot of stations and shows didn't have the budget or didn't want to pay the budget.
Yeah,
so that's how it happened. But
Plus the extra engineering cost.
All the
involved
miking.
and-
You need to
and putting something outdoors.
time
a lot
out.
of artists weren't capable of
Okay.
performing live on television and stuff like that. But,
Well, it's probably that too.
But that's why we always sounded
we made it
great.
a part of our act, because we'd plug our guitars into rocks on the beach or stuff.
The
You
first
know,
rock
it was kind of
amplifier.
obvious that
Exactly.
that we were making fun of it while we were doing it, because even though we could play and perform and do a lot of wild stuff in live, on TV we got away with more because we didn't have to really worry about playing, and so we made it kind of obvious we were lip syncing.
Yeah, we didn't pretend that we were playing live. We pretended that we were having fun.
Right.
That was a great
makes
question, Bob.
Thank you. The original Raiders are with me here. We'll wrap it up in just a minute here on 1190 KEX. We've got some traffic and weather coming up.
Okay, I guess I failed my idea.
No, you did great.
Is your band playing?
Give us
Or
some
they
cue,
come
Bob.
or they
Partly cloudy and cool. Oh, that's tonight. Partly sunny today and a few widely scattered showers. High today 67, tonight partly cloudy, cool. Patchy late night fog, the overnight low 48, Portland 41, Salem. Patchy morning fog tomorrow, and partly to mostly sunny and warmer, a high of 73. And right now it's 55 degrees at the station you depend on for weather, 1190 KEX.
Because I thought we were going on the air.
Well, yeah.
All right, 1190 KEX. Let the record show that they play air guitar just as well as they play real guitar.
We do.
Doing the thing in here, doing the thing. This is great. This is Bob Miller on 1190 KEX with Mark Lindsay and the original Raiders. Now, let's, before we do another thing, let's make sure that we get out what you're going to be doing this weekend, where you're playing. This is the first time you guys have performed together live in 30 years.
Absolutely.
It's amazing.
It's a homecoming. We are coming home.
It's kind of like the band all gets together and we call it a reunion.
This is where it all started, and where it's going to end.
No, thanks.
This is literally, Portland was the hotbed of the Raiders, and it's kind of,
Right.
even today Portland says, yeah, that's where they started, they're our boys, and,
Why is it taking you so long to get back together?
well, I guess,
The hard one.
Mark owed me money for a long time.
yeah, I was afraid to face the guys, you know.
He never gave my saxophone back.
I used to
you
step
know.
on my toes all the time.
Well, see, obviously, it's because I was
Smitty was in
embarrassed.
rehab.
No, we just, time went by, and I started getting in touch with people, just say, look, if I'm sorry if I ticked you off in the past. I was just trying to, be a good, I was just doing what I was doing. I just wanted to clear
He
the
finally
slate.
apologized. He finally apologized, and so that
No, there was
good.
no animosity at all. Just everybody was doing different things.
Well,
Mark-
come on. I mean,
Mark's
a band
touring
is
and-
a band is like a family, though. I mean, people have their little tiffs and their little blow
Enough-
ups.
There's a lot
Enough
of feelings
time,
going on.
enough time had gone by that I thought it'd be great if we could all just get together and just talk.
Right.
And then it became jamming. And then
So what happened the first time you jammed?
Well, they
After
all
30
came to
years.
they came to my house in Vegas in April of this year, and just to see if we could all play together and still have some fun. And
We jammed on an acoustic guitar in the airport, and that
while we were waiting for each guy to
Yeah,
arrive,
we waited
Smitty
for
brought his guitar
great
out.
to get in.
People put money in the hats. They
Yeah, it was-
hey, we
yeah,
could
when
do
we
this.
saw
This
that,
is
when they
good.
started putting money
When we saw
in
there's money in this, we could actually make money at this.
but to answer your question, when we it was a little rusty and shaky the first couple songs, but we hit Stepping Stone and the magic was there. It was like, hey guys,
That's
you know,
right. We haven't really been answering his questions. We've just been
Yeah,
talking.
but it was magic for a few moments. We said, gee, we ought to just share this magic with someone, and lo and behold, Roger said, why don't we throw a dance and invite people?
There you go. So did you, the first time you got together, did you take the microphone into the men's room or anything?
I tried that, but
Actually,
Phil's
we
cord
were
wasn't
rehearsing
long
in a
enough.
men's room, so it was real close.
It was actually in our garage, which is kind of a blast from the past. People say we are an authentic garage band, and here we are rehearsing in a garage again.
Did the cops show up?
No, actually, a lot of
Nice.
neighbors did. And
We
said-
always went for that.
Yeah, only when I went outside looking for the men's room, and that's when the cops showed up.
Now, Drake, you're doing something tonight and tomorrow at Key Largo too, right?
Yeah, I thought I'd use this opportunity, since it's the first time we've been here in over 30 years, to bring up a great blues band from the Bay Area.
What's it called?
We're called Dr. Drake's Medicine Show, referring to all my operations and
His
all
scars.
the drugs that I take.
He does a whole set just showing all his scars.
I've got Billy Dunn, who's played with
Incredible
Solomon
keyboard player.
Burke and,
Great blues
and
band.
Albert King and everybody, and Michael Skinner, great singer, and Big Daddy Jerry Whitmore.
Yeah.
We'll be at Key Largo tonight and Saturday night. I think we might have some of the guys drop in tonight.
What guys?
I hear the Allman Brothers are in town, and Dickie's a friend of mine.
Oh, okay.
No, I think I
You
might
mean a
coerce-
personal friend?
I've got
if
10.
Phil can get away from the bodyguards I hire, then he might come down.
I've got 10 million questions, and I wish I had time for all of them. But let me try to quickly get to a couple here, because I know a lot of folks want to know about this. Are all of you still performing in one way or another? I mean, we know you are, Drake, and Mark, you're still
I've decided, yeah, I've been on doing this for now about the last 7 or 8 years.
Right.
And so it's in,
So when you perform, Mark, do you do Raider songs, or do you stick to Arizona and things like
no,
that?
I sang lead on every hit record that Power Band Raiders
Right,
ever released. so-
exactly.
So I do all the Raider stuff, and I do my stuff, and some of Drake's stuff,
Okay.
Yeah, we're still playing. I've been in a show for the last 9 years called A Blast from the Past. It's kind of a Broadway musical kind of a thing, rock and roll oriented, kind of like Grease.
Smitty, what are you doing?
I've just been trying to, I haven't, when I get an urge to play music, the way that I get a release is to go out and sit in with a group somewhere, just to jam for a while.
Yeah.
And that's been about the extent, other than playing acoustic guitar, piano, and drums at home. And
Hey,
I've
got an
been
idea.
missing it a
Let's-
lot.
let's-
I really
Smitty,
wanna
I've
get
got a group that you can jam with now. How
Hey.
about we get together tomorrow at Oaks Park and get on stage?
Hey, wait,
Jam.
what about tonight at Key
Oh, Smitty
Largo?
can come down tonight and play guitar.
Cool.
Let's play.
He's a
Key
frustrating
Largo.
Hey, just
guitar
let's
player.
dream for a minute. Do you think there's ever a chance maybe you guys might record again?
I hope
You
so.
never, you can't say never because you never know. I mean, stranger things have happened. Let's
We're all
just-
writing. Drake's writing. Mark's
I've
I'm
got
writing.
a Jimmy McCracklin song, the guy that wrote The Thrill Is Gone.
I don't think
I
there's
recorded a
anything
couple
that,
tunes with him, and we've got a song we want Mark to hear that would be appropriate for us, but
Great.
you never know. We'll see what happens.
Sign me up for the first
show.
CD.
After the 10,000 people at the show at Oaks Park go crazy, maybe we'll be forced to. You never know.
Well, we
I
hope
don't
we
Mark-
think
do.
anything can stop it.
Mark, I have to ask you one quick thing now. I understand you applied for a job here at KEX at one time.
When I came up to Portland in '62 for
Delivering bread.
Not yet. No, I wasn't delivering bread. I didn't even have any. I actually walked in. I thought, well, gee, I'd like to be a DJ. So they were very nice, and they said, "Do you have an air check?" I said, "No." So they set me down, and all of a sudden the guy's going, "Okay, I'm gonna play a record, and then you announce it and do a little pattern." He goes, I went, that was a record. So
Stage fright.
they
So
were
you
very-
got the job, right?
Yeah, well, they said, don't call us, we'll call you.
Well,
But
well,
I actually did. I was in here, and I was very, very overwhelmed.
hey, good luck tomorrow, you guys. This sounds like a lot of fun.
So you think there's a future for me in radio?
I do. I think you're, and I'm also happy that you've still got the ponytail, Mark. That
Well,
makes my day.
Thank you so much.
So Bob, you gonna come down
And I
tonight
still
to
got the
hear some
fangs.
blues?
We're gonna do it, man. We're gonna try to
Thanks
get
for
over
having
there.
us
You
here.
bet. Hey, thanks for coming.
Thanks,
And
Bob.
Portland, thanks for having us back. We'll see you this weekend.
Mark
Tomorrow
Lindsay,
night, Coach
the
Mark.
original Raiders here on 1190 KEX. See you in the morning.
Home again.